Isn't it good to know that the God who created us, who created the universe, loves each one of us, that we're precious to him, that he wants what's best for us. And if we will just walk with him, work with him, that he will lead us through the ups and the downs, be with us through, because he knows the plan he's working out in each and every one of our lives. But that doesn't always feel comfortable. And the day is one of those stories, okay? And you know, as you read through the Bible, we love the exciting kind of stories. We love David and Goliath because we all are on David's side. And if you really think about it, Goliath has a bad day, a really bad day. He's a 9-foot giant, and he's standing against God's people. And you know the story and how it ends, and we kind of go, David defeated the giant, and then Sunday school, they don't include the next bit, do they? Right? And we've hit a passage this morning in Mark's Gospel, and there's certain chapters that you just like, almost, you might think, God, you could have done with putting a book of the Bible that was like 18 plus. Right? And this morning is one of those. But how many of you have heard about John the Baptist? Yeah, what can you remember? There's a particular phrase that's said of him that I want to be our title this morning, that it was said right at the beginning of the Gospels. When they talk about John, they say that he is a V in the W. Nothing to do with Volkswagen. A voice in the wilderness. And John the Baptist, he came to prepare the way for Jesus. And he was baptizing people. He baptized Jesus. And all pretty exciting stuff. He was a bit of an interesting character. He wore camel hair and ate locusts and honey. Right? So I don't know if I would have liked him to have invited me for dinner. Right? Honey, I might have just coped with. Locusts, I'm not so sure if you put that on a plate before me dinner. Have you tried them? Apparently they're very nice. There we go. Gainer's going to try them this week and let us know next week. Right? And he went about preparing the way for Jesus and calling people to repent, to turn from their sin. And he had some pretty big opportunities. There was tax collectors that come to him and said, what must we do? And as he sort of baptized them and instructed them, he said, well, don't take more than you should. Right? So immediately he's correcting the thinking, because tax collectors would have taken more money than they should. And he continues, soldiers come to him to be baptized and to come to know God. And he says, right, well, don't take bribes, and don't wrongly accuse people. And so he gives them instruction of how to live out their jobs and their lives for Jesus. And he became very well known. And then as Jesus steps onto the scene, he baptizes him. He says, this is the one I was speaking about, whose sandals I'm not worthy to untie. Right? He recognized that Jesus was greater than he. And Jesus comes, and we've been looking, as we've journeyed Mark so far, at the good news that he's taken, the miracles that he's done. And last week he sent out his disciples, his 12 disciples, to go and to share the good news. And they come back excited. They'd healed the sick. They'd set people free from evil spirits. And all was good. And then Mark takes a little bit of a turn, because Herod has heard about this. Herod was Mark says king. Matthew, I think, says tetrarch. Or it might be Luke. Which was a title. He didn't own the land. He was kind of put in charge by the Romans. He was entrusted to care for a certain part. And Herod had heard about what had just happened. He'd heard about Jesus and what he was doing. He'd heard about the disciples and what they'd just done. And he thought that John the Baptist had come back from the dead. He was like, oh, John the Baptist died then. And then a story, Mark digresses, as it were, takes a little bit of 5 to explain, because as we think that everything's exciting, everything's going good all of a sudden, Mark straightens us out and says, this Herod, yeah, he's a bit of a boy. Now, if we think of the name Herod, right, we think of we've all heard the Christmas story, and the Herod's a bit of a nasty guy, isn't he? Right? Well, this isn't the same Herod. It's his son. Right? And, but he's obviously taken after his dad. Right? And so he goes, and Herod was going to take his brother's wife. Okay? And his brother's, I'm guessing, wasn't very happy about that. But he took her anyway. And John the Baptist said it's not right. Okay? So wherever he went, he was pointing people to Jesus. He was standing up for what's right. And we read his story in Mark 6, 14 to 29. And he says, I wonder if Joe, yeah, sorry. I get excited telling the story and forget that I got images to pop up behind. But we see... And so wherever John Baptist went, he stood for what was right, to teach people to live God's way. And that's great when people follow and believe and see the wisdom, like the tax collectors and the soldiers did earlier in the story. But when people disagree, not so good. So this is our Herod with his sort of advisors, as it were. And so as he seeks to take his brother's wife, John says it's not right. Herodias, his brother's wife that's just about to marry Herod, isn't very happy with John the Baptist for standing against them, because she obviously likes Herod better than Philip, we're told his name in the passage. And whether that's because Herod's higher up the chain and he thinks he's got more power, I can have more influence if I'm married to him. We don't know. It doesn't sort of tell out the story. And so Herod, he arrests John, chucks him in prison, and marries Herodias. But Herod's a bit torn, because he's heard about John the Baptist. He's now, and at this point, kind of, the last week's story hadn't happened, but he's heard about John the Baptist, and he likes to listen to him. But whenever he listens to him, he's a little bit confused, he says, puzzled. He's trying to work out, what does this mean? How does he live this out when he's in the position that he's in? And I wonder sometimes that we can do that as we read the Bible, as we come to church, as we live in the world that we live in. I know what your friends in school say and do, and for us all the ones who work, colleagues, neighbours, the media is pretty strong of what it thinks of Jesus and where the world came from, and it is those views, and as they're very different to what we read in the Bible. And we're caught in this place where we have to hear and think and then make our choice. Herodias had heard and made her choice. She wanted him dead. Right? Herod was standing on the fence a little bit. He liked to hear him. He thought he was a righteous and holy man. He had a good view of who John the Baptist was, and so he'd like to listen to him. He was puzzled. And one day, it's Herod's birthday. Now today, we've got 2 birthdays in the church. There might be more. Some of you, I don't know your birthdays yet, but we'll get them. So Tim is 15 today. And Andrew, he's not here this morning, but if you got his number, drop him a text. Happy birthday. His birthday's today as well. And it was Herod's birthday. And he had a party. Right? We all like a party. And the fun and games. And all of a sudden, Herodias' daughter comes to dance for him and his friends. And it's all pretty exciting, I don't know, I've got to be honest, I'm not a big fan. Anyone watch Strictly Come Dancing last night? There we go. We got one fan in the house, right? But there's a lot more. Gaina's not on her own. There's lots of people that like a bit of watching the dancing, and so Herodias' daughter had come in to dance, and everyone was so impressed. You can imagine them applauding her at the end. And Herod was so impressed, and he was in a good mood. Maybe he'd had a bit to drink. He'd celebrated his birthday. His friends were all around him, and he says to Herodias' daughter, "As a reward for your dance, I'll give you up to half of the kingdom. Anything you ask." Right? And bit of a flaw in his plan, because as I said, this is where he might have had too much to drink, because he's going, "I'll give you up to half." It wasn't his to give. He wasn't sort of king, owner of the land, ruler of the land, but, he throws it out there. And I wonder what he would have done if she said, "Okay, I'll have half of the kingdom." But anyway, Herodias' daughter goes off and speaks to her mum and says, "What should I ask for?" Do you know what I mean? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And you can imagine her thinking, Tim, with his birthday, what does he ask for? There's a list. And, we all do it, don't we, round about our birthday. We have people asking us, "Oh, what do you want for your birthday?" And she goes, what do I get? What do I ask for? Money? New clothes? Do you know what I mean? New shoes? Consoles weren't out then. Do you know what I mean? She was thinking through, and do you know what her mother said? "I got a good idea. What you should ask for." This is really sick and twisted, right? And here's where the 18-bit comes in. Right? She goes, "Ask for John the Baptist's head." That's nice, eh? I mean, of all the things you could ask for. But she so hated what John the Baptist stood for that she was like, "I want him dead. And this is an opportunity I can take." And she goes in, and we might think, Herodias has put in nasty work. And we come to the daughter, and the daughter goes in, and you think, okay, well, she's, doing what her mother wants. But she goes, "I'll have John's head on a platter." That's even more sick than what her mother thought. But they go, and Herod is in front of all his friends. He's in the middle of his birthday party. He's made this promise. He can't go back in his word. And he goes, "Okay." And his standing on the fence is very easily flipped so that he commands that John the Baptist gets executed. And just very quickly go to the next image and then the next one. And so they bring his head on a platter and move to the next one, right? Because that's a bit gross. But Mark has included it in the story for us to see how this battle of good and evil, of what God stands for and what Satan stands for, is very real. And Jesus and John the Baptist comes to make Jesus known, to lead us to the life that he has for us. And we've got to hear, and he says, many believed. But Herodias, she was like, I want to do what I want. I don't want to do what God says is right. I want him dead. I want him silenced. I want him out of here. And she takes this opportunity. And Herod, he's making up his mind. But with the peer pressure of his friends and his wife, and not to lose face in front of them, he agrees to his wife's wishes. And he caves. He knew John the Baptist, it says, was a righteous and holy man. And yet he orders his execution. Do you know this Herod is the same Herod, we think, as was part of Jesus' trial. And he wanted to see Jesus do a miracle. And he didn't get it. So he hands him back to Pilate. And Pilate hands him on to be crucified. And so we see, I'll say a bit more to the adults because there's more in the Herod story in case you jump to wrong conclusions and put different chapters together. But God wants us to know him and life in his name. He wants us to see how strong a fight there is in our world for evil. And he wants us to stand for what's right, even if it means losing our head. Because knowing God and his plan and blessing for our lives for eternity is greater than any things that we can know on planet Earth. And so he wants us to stand strong, like John the Baptist. Even when your friends stand against, that we still love and shine and speak out for Jesus. That we don't cave to peer pressure. That we don't stand against God, but that we surrender because his ways are best. Right.